So first off, we're going to go into the details of breakout rooms and how you can use them to encourage participation in your live Zoom sessions. So one of the most important things is that in order to use breakout rooms, you will need to have that enabled in your personal settings. So any meeting that you create, it needs to be enabled in your personal settings because that's what it will default to in the meeting you create. So if you haven't gone into your meeting settings before, those would be if you log into duke.zoom.us. Those will be, there's a left-hand menu and it will say settings. If you click on that, this setting is going to be toward the bottom of a long page of settings. So the section is called In Meeting Advanced. For sure, if you're using breakout rooms, you will want to go ahead and enable allow hosts to split meeting participants into separate smaller groups. So you'll want to turn on that radio button. In addition, you may want to go ahead and select the checkbox for allow hosts to assign participants to breakout rooms when scheduling. We'll talk about this a little bit more later. This is giving you the option to pre-assign breakout rooms when you're scheduling and setting up a meeting. So you may or may not need that setting, but that is certainly worth considering, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. So first off, one thing to keep in mind is that in this particular session, I'm the only one who's going to be able to see the actual button for breakout rooms because I'm the host. So some of these things I have done screenshots of because you won't be able to see them yourself as we're going through them. That's a good thing to keep in mind, is that only the host has these controls and can change and manage these settings. So for example, if you wanted to, in a given session, go ahead and break students out into a breakout room, that is the button you would want to hit in your bottom menu. Then it's going to ask you in this box how many rooms you would like to create and whether you would like to do those automatically or manually. You'll see I had a large number of coworkers helping me take screenshots of this last night. So I was like, I just need a couple so it doesn't look really sad that I have 0 participants to assign to rooms. So if you're doing it automatically, that means that Zoom is randomly, evenly assigning participants to rooms for you. If you do it manually, that means that you're choosing who goes in what room. So once you've chosen which of those you would prefer and how many rooms, then you can go ahead and say create breakout rooms at the bottom. Then in the case where you are choosing to manually assign, you'll see in the top image that you would want to select the check boxes for the people you would like in a particular room and then say assign. Once they're all in a room, as you can see in the bottom image, you'll see a blue number next to each room. So that's indicating how many people are currently assigned to that room. So also once you hit the drop down arrow, for example, you can see my colleague Amy Kenyon was in breakout room 3 at the time. So you can move participants around if needed. So keep that in mind as well. So even if you did automatic assignments, you could also still move people around if needed. So one thing to keep in mind when you're creating rooms is that that's just letting you have it set up. So this isn't yet at the point where we're actually telling people to go to the rooms yet. So for example, there are also some additional settings in the options menu that you can go ahead and choose to select. So you can choose whether to move participants to breakout rooms automatically, whether they can choose to return to the main room at any time. You could choose to go ahead and set an automatic time that the rooms close, or manually at any time as the host, you could go ahead and say close all rooms and bring people back. In addition, you can say how much of a countdown to give before bringing people back from the rooms. We generally recommend having some amount of time, say 30 or 60 seconds to do a countdown, just so people can finish up their conversations and have time to close up before coming back to the main room. So those are some additional options you can set as you're creating the breakout rooms. So once you've created them, you will say open all rooms, and that's what actually sends people to the rooms. So then it will look like this image on the left here. So then it will show who's in each room, and it gives you the option to join any of the rooms. So you'll see that in blue on the right-hand side. So keep in mind also that as the host, you will be the only one who can move between rooms and move people to and from. So you can kind of circulate between rooms, but everyone else, you know, they may have an option to go back and forth, but depending on the settings you chose. But for the most part, you know, it's kind of confined to the way you manage the room. One other thing is that while you can't necessarily push any particular content to all the rooms, for example, you can't have a slide that say appears in every room or something like that. You can broadcast a message to everyone. So you'll see in that left-hand image at the bottom, it says broadcast a message to all. So if you click on that, you will see this text box on the right-hand side. So you can give a quick message or update using that, and that will be broadcast to all rooms. So that can be another way that you can say, you know, you want to give 60 seconds for everyone to come back when you actually hit close all rooms, but say after 5 minutes, you want to say, hey, everyone, you know, you've still got another 5 minutes. You should be moving on to making your conclusions that you're going to present or something like that. So that's giving you kind of other options for things to communicate. And obviously, in addition, you can move between rooms to kind of interact or share other things with participants.